This is the third beer I ever made 5 years ago, and I just found it, and I'm going to taste it for the first time ever, and that is up next. This is Matt from Big Monster Brewing, and that was all true. This is the third beer I ever made. It was 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago and some change. I don't know exactly how long. This could be coming up on 5.5 years. I don't think more than that. I don't think when you cross 5 years, it much matters. I just found this, and there's probably a lot of questions behind that I'm going to try to answer. First off, what is this? Let's talk about that. And that'll lead into hopefully some other answers, at least ones that I had when I found this. It is actually a Mr. Beer kit. I started, like countless other brewers, with a Mr. Beer kit. And with this being my third beer and having to wait, even with a Mr. Beer kit, you got to wait, a couple weeks for the fermentation and another week or two for the bottle conditioning. By the time this would have been anywhere near ready, I tried the other two, and I knew after the second one, Mr. Beer was not for me. It was not giving me the results I wanted. It was time to move on. I actually jumped directly into all grain from there, and that's maybe a story for another time. Mr. Beer, it has the reputation it has. I think some people are a little hard on it, but I'm also not going to say produces the best product in the world. I'm going to say it does a tremendous job at introducing people to the hobby, like it did for me. I didn't understand how beer could be made at home, and where it really fell apart for me and not understanding was the chemistry part, the fermentation, and going through, as simple as it is, creating the wort, adding the yeast, and tasting the difference between the two. It filled in a huge gap, and things snowballed from there. So, I think by and large, for introducing people to brewing, it's a good thing. I'm not going to go on about that. I think everybody said everything you can say about it, and no sense saying anything else. I have nothing to add. So, that's kind of leads into how I forgot it. I put it in a cooler in the garage to bottle condition. And at that point, like I said, while I was conditioning, no, I'm not going to make any more. So not only did I stop making Mr. Beer kits, I totally forgot that he had one going. Literally, it was wiped right out of my head. I went on to my new path down all grain brewing. I have organized all of my brew gear. It got way out of control. I guess I was going to say the amount of stuff's not out of control. Maybe it is. My grabbing it, using it, setting it on the floor in the garage got out of control. It was taking up a huge footprint in the garage. I have two big metal shelves to put this on. I finally pulled everything down and put it into easy to reach places that I will definitely put back the next time I use it, but fingers crossed, maybe I will remember. When I got to the coolers, which I have several of for several different reasons. You've seen them on this channel for fermenting. I carry beers in them. I carry hold ice in them for brewing day. Apparently, as I said, I use one for fermenting or bottle conditioning Mr. Beer beers that I forgot about because I picked it up and I heard that trademark bottle clinking sound that I'm sure anyone that's ever held a cooler of bottles, soda, or when bottles were in glass, or beer bottles for sure, knows that sound. And I was like, what the hell was that? Opened it, 20 of these. The whole batch. I totally 100% forgot these existed, not only when I made them, but over the past 5 years. And as soon as I saw it, which, let's see if the camera will focus on it. Probably not. It's, okay, that's a little better. I told it away. Podtoberfest. And it wasn't Big Monster Brewing at the time. It was Neo's as private brewing. I made everything for the podcast network. I used to make them for shows, for events of the shows, and after 5 years, I've covered all the shows more than once. I've done about every event that we could do to name a beer after, so that's where it transitioned out of just making it for the podcast and doing this Big Monster Brewing channel. So Big Monster is now its own thing, its own YouTube channel, as you're seeing, its own podcast, and hopefully more beyond that. We'll see. But I did find these, and I'm very curious what it tastes like. So we're going to get to that in just a second. I don't think I said what it was. It's the Oktoberfest. It is the Mr. Beer Octoberfest, and that is the, of course, hopped malt extract that comes in a can. I'm sure you know, about yay big, about yay round, from what I remember. And also came with a booster pack, I think, which was just a combination of sugars, probably mostly corn sugar and sucrose. Yeah, sucrose is table sugar, I believe, and to up the alcohol percentage. I looked at it online the other day. It looks like it comes with a third thing now. I don't remember mine coming with a third thing. I think it was just those two. So, let's do this. Let's see what a Mr. Beer Oktoberfest tastes like 5 years later. And the bottle's starting to sweat, and I thought these were fairly waterproof labels, but I guess they are. They're sticky, but the ink's not coming off. These are, I don't remember what I used to label these. I have to try to dig those out again. But anyway, that's not the point. So, hey, let's see if we got a hiss 5 years later. Got a good hiss, actually. Got a little gas rolling off there. And here comes the pour. I will say, okay, I wasn't sure if I was holding up to the camera. I will say, I'm going to leave. I don't know. I can't imagine how much gunk is left in there after going through the heat. And, well, I was going to say the weather changes in Florida, which is heat and unbearable heat. Now, the cooler should have protected from the unbearable, but I'm not sure. My point was, I was surprised how much of a head was forming. It's quickly going away, but it's keeping a collar, which that's kind of surprising. It is oh man, this is actually a better shot. As I say, I've been blaming the cameras for not getting the beer, but I think it's the lighting. I mean, I'm no pro. I'm sitting under a dining table light, so I don't think that's the best way to display a beer. But that's actually, if I hold it in front of me, you get an idea. You can see my fingers. It's really clear, dark as anything. I mean, that is not what a Märzen would typically look like. The first thing I think of when I smell this is wine, of all things. And not good wine, like cheap wine, like big gallon jugs. Not Nitrain or Ripple, which is, I think both don't exist anymore. Or Mad Dog, there you go. And like communion wine. But still, it's very malty, very sweet-ish, and a little boozy, surprisingly. All right, I'm going to very possibly regret this in the immediate future, meaning this evening, but let's go to taste. All right, I'm going to say it's not as bad as I was afraid it was going to be, and I don't mean that from the Mr. Beer standpoint. I mean it from it being in a Florida garage for 5 years. It is quite malty. It's actually got a very old ale taste to it, interestingly enough. Like, I'm on the finish here, I'm getting a lot of kind of raisiny prune plum flavors. It's just surprisingly nice. Malty, no hops, like that kind of currant fruit flavor. Oh yeah. There's kind of like there is a breadiness to it, like behind the raisin. And if you think eating a raisin sandwich sounds bad, you're right. It's kind of got a breadiness to it too, which is really interesting because that usually I get out of young beers that have all grain. I can't say it's a flavor profile I've gotten. Or I've tried in extracts. I haven't done after Mr. Beer. My extract days were over, but this might be. There's always been one thing of the two I made. Of the two Mr. Beers I made, there was one thing in both of them I could not stand, and it tasted like a celery seed. I don't know if you've ever had celery seed. Celery seed tastes like celery, like on steroids. If you bite into a celery seed, it's like you just blended an entire bundle, all the stalks of one, whatever that is, of celery, put it in a blender, reduced it, simmered it down to increase the taste, shoved it in your mouth and held it there. That's what biting into one celery seed feels like for me. And I got that taste in both those Mr. Beers. It's not in this one. And I'm really curious if it was, like, if I had drank it 2 weeks after bottle conditioning. Obviously, I'll never know, and I'm not going to make it again. But that's not there, which kind of officially makes this the best Mr. Beer I've ever had. But it's still not great. And I'm curious what the head retention stinks, but let's see, is it carbonation? I'm getting a little back. You're probably not seeing it. The glass is a little fuller than I should be doing this with. There, I think you can see the collar's coming back. If I get this down more, I could probably really get some carbonation back, but I'm not going to drink that much more of it. But I'm going to have one more taste just to see if there's anything else. Now, let's warm it up a little bit. Oh, if anything, there's kind of that raisiny estery taste now. It's a ton of esters, which is really interesting because the yeast in this is just a simple dry yeast, as again you probably already know. So it's not getting the flavors directly from the yeast. It's almost got that. I'm getting to that now that it's warming up. I'm getting more of a kind of that cheap grape wine flavor with it too. So, but I'm a little shocked that this isn't like it's not putrid. And again, that's not a Mr. Beer commentary. It's a fact that it's sat in a cooler in Central Florida, which is like this far from the surface of the sun on its worst days. Not any real distinguishable off flavors. And I don't think it's going to make me sick by any means because it doesn't kind of have any kind of bacterial infection taste to it, and none of those signature off flavors that signify an infection. So I guess at least that was my first lesson, was my sanitation was clean. I was a freak about sanitation. Still kind of am, but my Mr. Beer kit days, man, you could do surgery in my kitchen. I mean, I didn't mess around with that. So, yeah, I'm not going to finish this. Let's just be honest. I'm going to take one more beer. We're going to toast the fact that, if nothing else, Mr. Beer has led me to the greatest hobby I've ever taken on in my life, and hopefully maybe even more so. So cheers to that, Mr. Beer. 5 years later, I can still drink this beer, and I think I've certainly come a long way, and it all started with one of these kits. So I will drink one more sip to that. And on that note, I will say thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that alarm so you're alerted when the new episodes come out. Check out bigmonsterbrewing.com. I've been posting some blog posts that go along with these videos, including recipes. Not this one. That was a bad video to plug that aspect of the website with. So, but for other ones, recipes are there, and yeah, that's it. So I'll say one more time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.